Welcome to Dare to Be Us. Hi, I'm Ruth, founder of The Corner Pitch and the host of Dare to Be Us. Welcome to Dare to Be Us. Today I'm talking with Mary. Thank you, Mary, to be here. You own a small farm, right?
Yes.
It's a small farm.
Yes.
She's coming to talk about she has autism.
Yeah.
How do I say that? Because I want to be able to have the right term, right?
Yeah. I think a few years ago, people used to say it was like person-centered speak is what they call it. So like it's a person with autism. Nowadays, a lot of autistic people like saying we are autistic.
Okay.
So because it's like an identity thing, it's part of us. You can't really separate it.
Yes.
So
I
said So I say I'm autistic, and I also have ADHD.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Well, we're gonna be talking about the autism and how this is making you feel with those barriers and all the situations with the system and how it works. And so she's gonna share with us her beautiful story and how it has impacted all of it for her. And so I'm super happy about that you're here. I'm like super happy. It's been really nice.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me, did you have anything like growing up? Like when did you start really noticing that you like when did your parents actually find out that you were autism or until you were a grown up?
So I'm 34 now, and I was just diagnosed a couple weeks ago. So it's been a year since with my therapist, we've kind of talked about it. So
Okay.
It took me a while to get officially diagnosed. So it's only really been a year since I've actually thought that I'm actually autistic. Growing up, I didn't, nothing really came up. But I always knew I was different. We moved a lot growing up. So, and when we moved, we would move across different continents. So culture, language, everything was very different. So I kind of thought that my differences were due to that.
Okay.
Having to adapt and learn languages, and not necessarily to autism or anything else inside of me. But I think at least from when I was 10 years old and up, I always felt different.
And how did that impact, like, in your day-to-day life? With knowing, right? Like you know that you're different in some shape or form, and that kind of like does it look like it was a weakness for you? It still is. Does it still it is? Is it a pressure? That it's within your family, with the society. How does that impact?
So I think growing up, it was more. I think the social aspect was really a big one. Like I would always sort of analyze how, like between friend groups and how people were, like the dynamics between friends and what you could say and what you couldn't say and who was friends with who and why and like that kind of stuff. That was always a lot of work for me. I was always trying to figure out things like jokes or things in conversations like that. I wouldn't always get it. So I would work really, really hard to make sure that I understood everything fast enough.
Okay.
But I didn't realize that not everybody does that. It was just me. So I think it's in hindsight now that I know that that's what it was. And again, in hindsight, everything was so much more difficult, especially with the ADHD as well. So a lot of things that would come up as a student, for example, was I would forget things, or I was always late. I was trying to always be on time. I would procrastinate, so start projects later.
And I guess that impacted your at the school. And how you get involved first with the education itself. And how your grades and things like that. And it's that pressure, right, of the system. Your parents is like, you have to have good grades because otherwise it's like, and it should be super overwhelmed going through that.
Yeah, exactly. Because so I don't know how to say this without I don't know. Like, I'm not saying this to,
and
but like,
just to make sure that that people always hear, and there to be us. Is this a podcast so we can say our experiences, and it's always about us and how each individual that we see life, right? Not necessarily someone has to see it that way. So
like, I don't know how to say it without like sounding important, but like I'm pretty smart, and so that's my dad's even way smarter than me. But that's kind of why I think the pressure was there to get good grades, because they knew that I could. And generally, that's another thing too, that in the research, children with higher IQs tend to be diagnosed later with autism or ADHD, because our intelligence is able to mask a lot of those difficulties. So even if I start my project later, I'm still able to get a decent grade with less time because of how the brain functions. And so that's why I think I kind of got missed, because I was still able to get good grades when I was younger, and then decent average grades when I was getting older, because again, that's kind of typical because of the pressure and the load.
So academically, it really didn't do any, like, it wasn't, I guess academically it wasn't something that you struggle with, but maybe more like the deadlines. Would that be?
Yeah, so like I struggled a lot internally, but it didn't show externally to other people, because I was still getting good grades. I was still meeting the deadlines. I was just.
And were you doing that because that struggle?
Yeah.
Where does that struggle comes from? I guess the expectations that.
Yes, exactly. It was the expectation. Yeah, so like things like it comes from the expectations, and then also what's interesting is that it's there's a narrative that people create around those behaviors. So when you have those patterns of behaviors, they attribute like personality traits to it. So like the fact that I would start my projects late, that's the ADHD, that if you don't have enough stress, you don't get your projects done. But I was told I was lazy because I didn't want to work. But it's actually the whole dopamine sort of motivation part of it, right? Same thing with like being forgetful or being late. It's just because like I was disrespectful or things like that. And then another thing too, and that's a bit more on the autism side, but like I was pretty aware of like the sensations in my body. So I would, I guess I would verbalize that pretty easily. And so I was told that I exaggerate. So if I hurt myself, I guess my reaction was bigger than what was expected. So I was told I exaggerated.
Expectations as well.
Exactly.
Well, again, how you have to behave and how you have to react in certain things. It's like, you're not in my body. You cannot say things like that. But right now, so that's one of the things that I'd like to bring awareness as well, right? Because people don't even understand how the different bodies can actually work, and everyone feels different, right? And impacts different, whether it's physical or emotional, right?
Exactly.
And you see, I'm just like you. I've always been a person that actually feels too much. Besides the fact that I'm really empathetic and emotionally, I can I'm actually able to feel what people feel. But as well, like in terms of physical, it's just it is horrible. And sometimes, I don't know if that happens to you as well with your kids, right? I don't know at some point where did you get the awareness of that. But for example, with myself, and my daughter, whenever my daughter, it was like, oh, it's like it hurts. I'm like, no, nothing happens, right? And now it's like, oh, I should have let her felt her pain, and not, why is she exaggerating, right? Like, it's the pressure of society saying, oh, she's been really traumatic.
You're supposed to be tough.
She's yes, like, oh, don't pay attention to them, right? It's like, no, they're gonna be okay. No, it's the importance that we have to start seeing that it's important for them to let them know. I mean, let them feel their own pain, whatever it is, if either it's physical or emotional, right? And just let them. So does that happen as well with you?
Yeah, because my husband is also neurodivergent, and our kids probably are too. And what's difficult with children is that with all kids, sometimes they'll exaggerate things to get attention.
Yes.
And so it's difficult to know sometimes whether is it, yeah, exactly. Are they doing it for attention, or are they feeling the sensation much stronger than we expect them to?
Yeah.
And then also, and one thing I wanted to come back on is when you were talking about how you always feel things strongly. Mm-hmm. So maybe you do internally, but I know like culturally, I think in Mexico, it's much more accepted to express them. No, but I mean, like, you guys are much more expressive.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of like your joy, let's say, not necessarily like the negative, but you know, you're.
Yes. No.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying like no, because sometimes as well, and this is part of what we were going to talk about as well.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, that cultural impact as well.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly.
Because with us as Mexicans, we are really joyful. We are really caring. We are people that we like to have, you know, people. We're just a caring culture, right?
And you're vibrant. I find.
Yes. But as well, there is, you know, a lot of expectations around, especially because it's a culture where it's a lot of religion based, you know, especially Catholic or Christian. And so they are expectations as well sometimes. And it's like, for sure. You know, they don't really see it eye to eye when it comes to that, right? It's just it's always the being disrespectful, right? It's just I have a cousin as well with autism, and you know, it's when he's outside and he is having a meltdown, you know, because he's in the spectrum that he is, it's just different. And
when he's overstimulated.
Yes, where he's super overstimulated, and you know, outside is like, you know, people just look at us, at him, like this is like what the heck, right? Like, and they don't really know what's going on. And you know, people need to understand that it's something that we experience different, and that they need to be able to have compassion instead of just judging and seeing. You know, if you don't like it, then just go.
Yeah.
You know, if you cannot, you know, face yourself with those situations, then it's like, so so how autism, you know, shaped within your family, you know, your do you feel like it's a disability? Do you really feel you as a disability?
Me and myself alone, no, I don't. And especially the way that we've kind of structured our life, me and my husband, around our neurodivergence. No, not at all. It's not. Like day to day, the only real thing that I have actual trouble with in terms of like functioning would be cooking every day. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, the meal.
But again, my husband does it, so that's not really a problem. And when you look even nowadays, but historically, men never cooked.
Yeah.
So they probably wouldn't be able to fend for themselves on their own either back then. So within the family unit, there's not a whole lot. I think the disability part probably comes from, again, like we were talking about, the expectations and the way that society and the economy are built.
Yes. Yes. So you're mentioning about the meals. What does it represent for you to make the meals? Why is it so hard for you to make the meals?
I think it's the planning and the obligation associated with it. You have to eat. And when I cook, and apparently there's actually studies that show that too, that when you cook, you don't taste the food the same way that somebody else did. Like that if I cook for you, you will taste it differently than I will, because I made it.
Yes.
So whenever I cooked, it was never as good as when somebody else cooks, and then the obligation of having to go and do all the grocery shopping, plan, make sure you've got the right foods in the house to make the thing, and then it's like it's a lot of days. It's not like you can, it's not just once a day and then that's it. Like it's 2-3 times a day. Yeah, especially with kids, like they eat all the time and they never like what you make, and like that just makes it even harder, and make sure it's healthy and balanced. And then combined with also the in autism, sometimes you don't feel your needs in the proper amount of time. So like I've always had trouble drinking enough water because I won't really feel thirsty until I'm really thirsty.
Yes.
So same thing. I wouldn't start cooking until I was hungry, and then by the time you're done cooking, you're starving and you're in a bad mood, and like it's just, and then you have to do dishes, and like so it was that whole thing of like having to plan, make sure you have enough food every day, and like that's overwhelming. I know I could do it if I had to.
Yeah.
But
it's in a daily basis. It's really that the planning of thinking, today what am I gonna do? Am I gonna do something with chicken? What can I do with chicken? And what is it something that it could be balanced and the kids can still eat, and they're not gonna be
they're gonna be healthy, not miss any nutrients,
and so that they are not giving you a hard time as well. And it's like, because that's another thing, right? Like it's already been drained. And how your experience with the autism makes you feel, whenever you have those situations, because you already have enough with your own feelings, right? And being in that position with the kids and taking care of the meals and everything. So how does that make you feel?
It's very overwhelming very often, because combined again with the kids, and like none of this is their fault, they're just being children, but like they touch you all the time, they talk to you all the time. My kids talk so much, and it's great, and they're smart, but like me, in terms of like I'm taking in the sound, plus I'm trying to do what I'm, if I'm trying to cook or whatever, like I'm trying to do that, and so I need to focus on making sure I don't mess up the recipe or whatever. And with the ADHD, sometimes you have trouble focusing and having enough, so then you'll forget the ingredient, and then then they want something, and then so it's just a lot of input a lot of the time. And so I think it's between us and them too, just practicing like, okay, I need alone time now. And they know as well too that they're able to tell, because I have 2 kids, so they tell each other sometimes like, I want to play alone, I need alone time.
Well, that's amazing that they do that.
Yeah, I know. I'm surprised.
And I'm guessing with what you're sharing is that you have talked to them and say, hey, it's okay, it's healthy to have space, right? And play together, and it's actually nice to be able to know yourself, right?
Yeah, I need to take more breaks to like come down and de-stimulate, I guess, to before coming back, kind of thing. So that's what's most difficult. But and so we were talking about the disability, whether it's a disability or not. It's kind of a lot of people have described it kind of like it's just autism is a different operating system. So it's like Apple versus Android. They're not, and one's not better than the other, they're just different. And if you try to run Android on an Apple phone or Apple on an Android phone, they don't work properly. So it's basically that you're trying to put a neurodivergent person in the neurotypical society, and then that's where conflicts happen. But me in my own life at home, I have no issues, I have no disabilities per se.
Oh, at your home you feel that. Yeah, obviously. So okay, that's within your family, but when it comes to the career, like that's different, right? Like I guess that impacts your personal I don't know if that even hurt you're doubting yourself sometimes, right? When you're out there and you don't fit into these boxes, right? It's like a career that you cannot do but whatever they're saying, and there's no other way around, and these are the rules, and this is how it goes. And it's like, how do you go about that, right?
So because I was pretty smart, and also because I'm a millennial, so back then, you kind of like you did high school, you went to university, and then you got a good job, and then you went up your career ladder, and then you had a family and a house and all that stuff. Yeah. Because that worked for our parents, right? That they were in a generation where that's what happened. But so I went to university, I loved it, but then after that, I got a job and it wasn't that great, and the opportunities nowadays to go up the career ladder aren't nearly what they used to be, and combined with the cost of living and the disparity between house prices and your actual salary, that just doesn't fit anymore. And so again, because of sort of I was decently intelligent, the expectation I think was kind of that I would get like an office job, because that's where the smart people go, I guess. They go into offices, and then but that never worked for me. My parents were really good at accepting that I was going to probably take like a alternative career path.
Yeah.
But I guess I still kind of felt that pressure. Yeah. Also because I come from like a family of accountants and, numbers and office workers and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, what were we talking about? There was more points I remember I wanted to talk about with that.
Yeah, because it comes with a generational pattern right there as well, right? And it comes with that obligation that they put you, because that's a burden that we don't really think about it like that, especially like the generations behind us that they're more in that state where it's like, oh, okay, I made this business for us, so then
you're supposed to take it over.
You have to take it over. People that they are wealthy with money as well. It's like, hey, you have the responsibility to take over from the company, and it's like, when did you ask me, right?
Yeah.
When did you ask me? And especially when you're a neurodivergent, you don't want to be in those kind of things, right? It's just, I feel that it's just that rebel that we have in us. Like I did really don't want to fit into those rules that they want. So it's like, so
yeah,
what would be like, how did you get out of that pattern, right? Because you're telling me that you come from an accountant family.
I don't know. I think my parents from the beginning always saw that I was a bit different. Like I was really into horses, which as a teenager is not necessarily like odd, but I was really into horses. And so I was starting to think about wanting to do careers with animals, but not be a vet, which would have been like the standard, like,
yes, if you like animals,
then you become a vet. Yeah. Yes. And I didn't want to do that. And especially that most vets are just like cat and dog vets, and that wasn't my thing. And like, and let's be honest, like when you're a cat and dog vet, you're dealing mostly with people and not with animals. Like the big part of the work is trying to educate the owner and convince the owner to do things, and like, so so I was leaning more towards like alternative horse jobs and things like that. And then I chose wildlife biology for my university courses and stuff. So I think they had pretty early on, they had an idea that I wasn't going to be, a standard office worker. So before you were talking about like what are those boxes? I think with standard employment too, it's a lot of it is like 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and then you're on that strict schedule of doing things. And then you're also expected to like have your family and cook for your family and clean your house and do all this other stuff. And I didn't have that much of it going on back in the day, because I was working I was a shift worker and I didn't have kids. I didn't have a husband and all that stuff. So there were a lot less demands, but still like just thinking about, okay, well, I can handle it now that I'm alone, but like visualizing the future of like, what would it be like if I had a family and all this stuff. And I was thinking like, I don't know how do people do it? Like, where does the energy come from? How do they have the capacity, like brain space and all that stuff to handle all of that stuff?
Yes.
And so that's, I think, where one of the neurodivergent differences comes from too. I think is that we're not necessarily able to, and again, I don't know, I'm generalizing, so but like sometimes a lot of us can't fit into that rigid mold because we don't have the same energy production.
And I feel as well that, I mean, not just neurodivergent, I feel that everyone is like that. I feel that, and this is my perspective, this is just how I feel and how I see it, that we live in a flight mode. Everyone is like just doing because they have to do it.
Yeah.
Right? They have to fulfill the expectation financially to be able to pay all the bills. So I mean, yes, you can manage it, but is it really what you want, what you expect from life, what you are like? Because that the system has kind of like made us believe that this is what we come here to this earth. But is it really?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. And that's what I think a lot of I see online pushback against that, because at one point being busy was really rewarded, right? Like if you're busy, it means you're important and means you're, I don't know, it was just something that was like,
yeah. And if good. You're not productive, then you're losing your time, then you're a loser.
Yeah, you're wasting. Yeah, exactly.
Then you're not doing anything with your life. And who says not, right? Like it's when it comes to mindfulness, like when you
exactly.
When you really are doing a good job for yourself is when you get that mindfulness and you see, okay, you're out there, really figure it out who you are, what you want, how you feel. That's what it's supposed to be, that life itself, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
In that way. And
yeah, and people are slowing down a lot nowadays too, right? Like that's embracing like a slower pace of life. And I think that's probably, I don't know, it's like the pendulum swings like extra busy, extra slow, like you're always kind of going back and forth.
But. Yes. The other day I was thinking, I was at the beach, right? Because it's just been really hard for me. Just as much as you feel like that, I've always felt like that during my life, right? And being a neurodivergent, even more, right? And so, I've always thought that just be a success. I wanted to be a successful woman by either, being a singer, because I love singing and I have the capacity to do it, or, have a director kind of like job title. Being able to title. Have, yes, right. And then, life has put me in this spot where it's like, no, that's not being successful. Successful is just being good with yourself, finding yourself, loving yourself, though that's being successful, where you really want to be when you're but it's just that financial expectations that sometimes, or
I know
every time, just stop us to be actually present in our lives.
Yeah, and so that's another point that I had put in here somewhere, is that's the main barrier I think I have with neurodivergence, is just the economy, like money. That's it. Because if I didn't have the pressure to make money, even just to live, like I'm not saying get rich or anything, like just you need money to go buy your groceries and all that stuff. Then I wouldn't have a problem, because I need money to get things done that I want to get done and to survive.
Yeah.
But back in the day, like, yeah, okay, I can't cook, but what if my neighbor can't grow vegetables? Well, I can grow all the vegetables for my neighbor and she can cook for me, and then that's fine. We don't need, there's no exchange of money. I'm not, like, neither of us is seen as disabled because we can't do one thing or the other.
It's just like a transaction, right? Like what we used to do before the money was around this world, right? Like
I know.
It's just like everyone just helping each other, that I'll
barter.
Do this. Yeah. So I don't think, I think we would need to come back to those things, like really just living a life and
community, like a bigger sense of community. I think, like, I guess money was used to standardize everything, right? Because so back then it probably did start making things easier, but then at the same time, like, because maybe partially because of that, we've lost that sense of community. And I think I've heard online too that that's one theory why a lot of millennials are going back to like homesteading and things like that, is that because we, like, our parents grew up with community, but we didn't, because that's where that shift kind of happened in society. And so now we lacked that. And so we're trying to get back to it and give that to our children, and like you said, kind of like slow down, embrace like a slower, simpler life.
And as well, right, like I feel that there's so much technology as well around it that it just doesn't make us using our brains and our capacities, and that because I know that there are people like our age or around our age, 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, maybe, we used to be more like going out and do things by ourselves, not relying too much into from the technology, right? Sorry.
We sound old. I mean, one of my best memories of, I must have been like 8 or 9. One of my favorite memories from living in Chicago was that one summer afternoon we ended up just kind of like creating a water balloon fight with all the kids on our street, and it was like the boys against girls. And I lived like in a really like suburban little neighborhood, and so our whole street, we did that. We were probably like, I don't know, 15 kids or something. And then we ran out of water balloons. So we ran down the block, like on our same block, we had a little candy shop that also sold water balloons. So we got like our pocket change together, bought water balloons, came back and like.
But if you think about it, we had the capacity to actually solve problems, even being neurodivergence. We had the capacity to do that because of that openness, right? Like there was more opportunity. And now I've seen kids that they don't have, it's just really hard for them to actually understand and come up with their own solution, right? And that has nothing to do with neurodivergency. And then adding that, I think that's another issue that society has added into our lives and the system and everything, right? Because we're relying into that. The other day that we were talking, you were talking about something about, because you say that you're not into like too much spiritual, but you're more like in a science approach. Yes. So you say something about the babies and when it's the autism and
so one of the differences that they've noticed with autistics is that so the brain, we have more brain synapses. So synapses are the connections between the neurons. So when babies are born, they'll grow a lot of those connections, because that's why they're so great at learning everything so fast. And then as childhood and through adolescence, the brain starts to break, like prune, they call it, some of those synapses to make more efficient pathways. So because it kind of gets rid of like the weak or the useless connections, to keep only the important ones, and it makes your brain really efficient at connecting things and working. So I think I read a figure that like by the time that you're an adult, you've lost about 40% of the connections you made as a baby. Or for a neurotypical. And in autism, they don't necessarily, you maintain a lot more of those connections. So you have more brain synapses. You only lose about 16% potentially instead of 40% of the connections, which means that there's a lot more pathways leading to the same spot. So I think that's what I read somewhere, that they think that that's why like we have so much input, and that's why we get overstimulated, because in neurotypical brains you're able to ignore the sound of the fridge or like the background noise that you don't need. But as an autistic person, you hear all of that, you take it in. You're not able to like differentiate and just kind of like forget the useless stuff. And so you're just getting so much more information all the time.
Wow, that's amazing. So where did you learn this?
Online. So through different websites, there's different studies, but one website that's pretty helpful, and that simplifies things for like when you're beginning sort of that autism journey, or if you have autistic friends and relatives, is Embrace Autism. So that's where I got a lot of my initial information from, like when I was just thinking about potentially being autistic and stuff.
So if you like to go and just read a little bit about that, what she's saying, just, I mean, it's there in the web. It's really nothing that she actually knows. It's really something that she just trying to say that it's
there's like resources.
It's not just right.
It's just pulling numbers.
And it's important as well to know they know that we're having a conversation here of resources and not obviously we're not
exact, or like we might make mistakes in numbers or things like that. But
we're not experts, right? So we're just having a conversation here because we like to bring awareness of all of this. So just take that in mind as well, right? So I have something really we were talking about as well, there's this I think he's a neurologist. His name is Joe Dispenza, and I want to share with you because this is really this is really interesting. So he's a popular author and speaker who links meditation and conscious practice to change in the body and health. Many people report personal benefits from his workshops. It's a scientific community that points out that evidence is limited and that some claims are not yet well supported by controlled peer review trials. So, but his material as a conversational bridge between spirituality and science, just keep it framed as exploratory rather than just settled science,
like proven fact.
But it's really really amazing what he does. Just so you know what it's just a quick science note. What's about the epigenetics is a study of how environmental factors and life experience can change how genes genes are expressed without changing the life experience.
Without changing the
DNA letters themselves. Sorry, it's just I can see. I should be wearing my glasses though.
Well, I can explain a little bit if you want, because I did study biology.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So epigenetics is basically you have DNA, and certain genes can be turned on or off depending on your environment. Basically, so if you took twins, you separated them at birth, you raised them in two very different environments. One might have certain behaviors or physical traits that the other one doesn't have just because of the environment that they're in. And so I think what you were explaining to me is that Joe Dispenza says that by his practices, like, I don't know, is it like meditation and all that stuff?
Meditations,
you could potentially influence the epigenetic side of things and change how your DNA. Exactly.
Because one of the things that I was looking with him is that he mentioned one person that had a really difficult situations throughout her life, beginning where she had a major loss in her life, and then it came to have certain disabilities in her body after that, because it was such a big emotional impact or experience that it started showing through her body, right? So what he was explaining is that once he started helping her and make her realize certain things, and with the meditation and some, he has his own he has his own work or his technique, right? His technique. But he was saying that in the end, she was able to come back, like no cancer. I think she had cancer. I think she, stopped the mobility in her body and everything, and it actually turned her life to a better place, right? So if you guys want to go and find out what is this about, just go to Google. Google Joe Dispenza. He has really nice, interesting meditations and some other. He has books and some other stuff that you are able to actually go and see what it's about. And you were mentioning something about the
embrace autism, or well, I don't know. We're kind of like throwing out a lot of different topics and a lot of different theories and research and stuff. So it's a good opportunity just to pick whatever you're interested in most and dig into, because I think Joe Dispenza is very different from the very scientific research that I tend to gravitate towards. But we're
that's just one resource. Like
exactly.
And during the podcast, like I'm gonna try to give a little bit of resources, and as well if have my own experiences with what I've learned. So you guys do and take whatever it serves you for your own experience, and you're welcome as well to put in the comments if you guys know about something else that maybe another person can help, or that would be nice as well.
Because we were talking about sort of the cultural pressures or like the societal pressures of fitting in and everything, and there's a saying too that says, like, if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person.
Yes.
So although we are all grouped under the same umbrella of symptoms, we don't all, not symptoms or traits, I guess, but we don't all express them the same way or have them to the same strengths or everything.
It different.
Yes, exactly. Totally. And so I think coming back to society, it's kind of that's kind of what would be helpful, I think, for a lot of neurodivergent and probably for a lot of minorities too, is that the neurotypical society is actually very rigid in what they want. And for neurodivergence, just increasing flexibility, and probably for minorities too, because because of the different cultural,
it's accessibility at
some point, exactly.
Right? It's accessibility, right? Like, because I feel that we need more accessibility within this world. Especially in the work environment, right? It's the accessibility of knowing how it's not because we don't want to do things or we're not good at what we do. It's just sometimes we just struggle in so many ways, right? And in a different way, because like you're saying, everyone experiences it in a different way. And how outside your house, how does that impact you? Like, do you find that as soon as people know that you are a neurodivergent, does their relationship change, or or have you ever found like some kind of a problem out there, either within society, meaning friends, meaning acquaintances, or the work environment?
So because it's been so recent that I've like learned that I'm autistic, only about a year, I haven't had a lot of those situations. Okay. I know that sometimes, like, I'll say it pretty readily and easily. So sometimes if I'm just talking with somebody I just met and something's happening, like last year at a Christmas market, this one person was like a fellow exhibitor. He was saying that he tried to make lotions and he couldn't figure out how to do it. Like, he couldn't get it right, the right formula. And he's like, how did you figure it out? And he's like, you must have worked hard on it and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I tried twice and I got it. And like, I think it's because I'm autistic, because like I dove really deep into the scientific formulas of stuff, and I was able to sort of visualize what the ingredients would do,
right?
Yeah, exactly. And once I learn something, I go like really deep into it. It's not like I learn a couple things and then move on. So I told him, like, I think it's because I'm autistic that I did this, and he just kind of went silent and quiet, and and then he just kept going, but like he didn't know how to handle it.
Weird.
He didn't know how to handle that information, whereas I was using it as like, it's not because I'm like super smart, it's just because I'm different and that's how I did it. That's what I was trying to convey. But again, like, that's a whole there's a lot of trouble communicating between neurodivergent and neurotypicals.
And I feel that there is that lack of communication because of the way that we have been raised. And it's like don't talk, don't say anything, don't express, don't,
don't ruffle feathers.
Yeah. So it's like, you just better just walk away. You don't understand it, just walk away.
Yeah, and there's also studies that show that it's almost like speaking two languages. And I know from my mom, she might be neurodivergent, but she's definitely not autistic. So her and I have a lot of trouble communicating, and it's not because we have a bad relationship or anything. It's really because we speak two different languages. Yes. And for her, it was really helpful to hear it phrased that way.
Yes.
So there's research that shows that if because autistics are often said that we don't communicate well, but actually when we talk to each other, we understand each other very well, and we're like perfect. And then when neurotypicals speak amongst each other, they understand each other really well.
Yeah.
But when you get an autistic person that starts conversing with a neurotypical, that's where they're two different languages, and we don't understand each other anymore.
Definitely. And then there's that. It's not because you don't see eye to eye. It's just a different way. And like I say, we see beyond, right? Like we see different things in a different way, and
different perspective,
and different ways to actually find a better way to do certain things, because it works for us, and that's it, right? And you just keep going, and it's just hard for people to actually understand it. It can even be like, oh, that's unethic, right? Like, it's like, but is it really?
Yes, I think neurodivergents we can be very creative, because we have to find different solutions just to cope or to do things to a neurotypical standard.
Yes.
And that's kind of, and I think that's also typical of like the millennial generation. We ask why a lot, and I know that in the workplace that was not welcomed necessarily by older generations. It's like, well, we've always done it this way, so that's why we're doing it, and we want to know why. Like, how come?
Yeah.
And I think as neurodivergents, there's a lot of that too. Is that we're not just doing something; it's like we want to know why we're doing it, to see if we can find a more efficient way to do it.
We discern things, right? Like it's like a discern. It's like, okay, it's almost like going with a loop. It's like, whoop, so let's see how. Okay,
it's like if we have to get there, and then we've always taken this path. Like, well, why are we always doing this one? Because like, can't we just go this way?
Exactly. And why is it? It has to be unethical, right? Like it has. There's so many ways to resolve. Like not just like, let's think outside the box, please.
Yeah.
And just be more open to that.
Yeah, and then coming back also to the whole accessibility, flexibility thing. I think a discussion I had with my mom one time too is that like she kind of brought up the fact that like society can't always change just for you. And I think that's where we had the miscommunication, is that I kind of expressed to her that I think for accessibility, we're not saying like, I'll take the wheelchair because that's a very concrete, simple to understand thing. But like, we're not saying we need to change all staircases to ramps. We're just saying, could we have staircases and ramps? Because then the wheelchair can use the ramp. But what about the old grandma with the walker? She can also use the ramp. And the children who don't like, or who can't, toddlers who can't climb upstairs, they can also use the ramp. And so it's actually just introducing more options. And not changing options from A to B. It's
and not see it as that's another perk that we have to do whenever it has to do the building. It's like, no, just as they have to put bathrooms, just make it normalized to do the ramps, right? Like, and there's so many other accessibilities, right? Like the other day, well, not the other day, but I had an experience of a podcast, and someone was talking about accessibility, and they brought up the fact that whenever they want to go to the movies, someone that can't see,
a blind person,
right? A blind person, or someone with ALS, like, it's just, how does that work? Like, there's nothing like that. There's no accessibility for those kind of things as well. And it's like, just things that it's about time for the system to bring that as a normalcy and just start working towards that. And yes, why not? Like what you're saying, they're not going to change for us. Yes, they need to.
Yeah, because neurotypicals have a very standard way. I mean, again, big generalizations, but they sort of all operate on the same format, and so it all works for them. But actually, and all of this is all very new as well, like neurodivergence and autism and everything. Like the criteria for autism was only changed, I think, in 2013 or something. So that's not that long ago.
Yeah.
And so now I think there's more awareness of different types of brain functioning, because neurodivergence isn't just autism. It's ADHD, it can be dyslexia, it can be a whole bunch of different things. And so there's not necessarily a whole lot of autistics, but once you combine all the different types of neurodivergence into that one group that could benefit from accessibility, it's actually a pretty big part of the population too. It's not insignificant.
Yes. No, we are here. We are here in this world. We cohabit with you guys and neurotypical people. So,
and there's more neurodivergent than we expect, because when going through my diagnosis, funny enough, the psychologist who was doing it is also autistic and has ADHD. And there's a lot of professionals like that who are neurodivergent. So he was saying that a lot of doctors are neurodivergent. And when you think about it, it makes total sense, because especially if you're autistic, for example, you tend to be very interested in certain topics. And when you go through medical school, it's not something that you can just like decide to go for a couple of years and get it. Like, it's a very big commitment. And so you want those people to be very interested and specialized in what they do.
Yes.
Same with like actors. There's a bunch of actors that are
and they're amazing, autistic, right? Yeah. And they're smart. They're capable of doing even more brilliant things, right? And I know, because neurotypical can do it. It's just I feel as well that they are within that box and they don't go out because, I don't know, maybe fear, judgment, again, generational patterns, because it's just not about the generational pattern is just not about neurodivergent, just right? It can be with everyone, and it's just something that as well just don't let us sometimes to just go with what we actually want to do for our lives, right? So it's just a big topic, but
so I had a couple more things to add.
Yeah,
because getting the diagnosis recently, a couple weeks ago, I mean, it's brought up a lot of stuff in our family because it kind of came as a shock. I don't fit the I'm high masking, so I'm able to like camouflage a lot of the autistic traits that you would have thought of, back then. It was a little boy that can't look at you, and he's, that does exist, but it's not the full range of the autism spectrum.
Again, it's your own experience, it's your own autistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's not because I don't present that way that I'm not autistic. I think that's kind of opening up, and so it was kind of a shock to my family because, again, we were we were all uneducated about what autism actually looks like and can actually be in all its different forms. And so my parents, they kind of felt, especially my mom, she felt kind of like she felt guilty because she made me wrong, because she's the one who grew me and that kind of stuff. And then it was kind of like, it was still seen as like a negative thing, not like, oh, you're inappropriate, but they were kind of sad for me because like everything was going to be harder and because of that. Whereas I don't, like, there are certain things that are harder, but like I don't see it that way at all, because it's brought me a lot of stuff. Like, it's brought me so much. So
yeah, you see a different way, right? Like, and I feel as well that comes with the fact of the society back then, when it's because let's face it, they didn't have as much possibilities, and still there's still things and programs that I know that they're out there that the government is giving, but it's not really, they don't have the awareness. I have another person that we actually going to talk about that as well. That there are some programs out there that people really don't know that they're there to be able to get help with the neurodivergent, whatever neurodivergence, what would be it's
like the difficulties or the
so I feel that it's important to make that point as well, to see that your mom didn't have or was not prepared emotionally, and in that it's kind of like a chip. Like if you think about it,
it's they like
put a chip, and it's like you cannot go.
Society has like primed you to think in this direction and to think that way, and I think I've heard this echoed on social media a lot too, that for a lot of not older, but like late diagnosed autistics and neurodivergent maybe, it comes as a relief for us, because for a lot of us, we felt inadequate the whole time, because like we weren't meeting the expectations, we weren't doing this, we're always trying and we're always missing the point. Whereas now it's like, no, you weren't missing the point. It's because the point, like you couldn't understand the point to begin with. Like that wasn't the point. The point was over here, and you were trying to get there. And so
maybe it's not even your point. Maybe it's their point. It's their point. Validate their point, and then validate my point, because I don't see it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And so for me, like I have a lot of different skills that I wouldn't have gained probably if I wasn't neurodivergent, because the ADHD makes me jump from one interest to the other, and then the autism makes me dig really deep into that interest, so I know a lot about many different topics.
Exactly. So for me, that's another question.
Yeah.
Do you feel that it's a weakness, or it's just like a superpower? Because I feel that it's a superpower.
Yeah, I do feel that for the most part. Yeah. Again, like the only really frustrating parts are like trying to keep your house organized, or trying to feed yourself enough, or trying to like please neurotypical people. Those are the hard parts. But everything else, I think it's a strength, and that's why a lot of entrepreneurs are neurodivergent, because we can do whatever we want, and we get really interested in that kind of stuff. And I mean, like some of the lotions that we were talking about that I developed. So I was initially selling seaweed as fertilizer, but that was mostly an online business, and I was getting bored of doing the computer stuff. And so I started,
the e-commerce,
exactly. Yes. So then I was like, I really want to make lotions too. So I started researching how to do it. So that's the ADHD that distracted me. And then the autism made me like formulate it fairly quickly and get a really good product. So
that's a really superpower.
But I'm not very good at marketing, so it's not like
no. But I mean, but people everyone have their own abilities, and you have a brilliant ability.
And I don't think I would have done that necessarily if I wasn't neurodivergent.
Yes,
and so
definitely.
I think I'm showing my mom in many different ways like that. Like what would or wouldn't have happened if I was neurodivergent.
It's like, yes, mom, like I'm okay with it. Don't just like, because sometimes as mom as well, we need to be able to work with ourselves and take responsibility with our own emotions and our own generational patterns, because that comes with a generational pattern. And it says, oh, okay, well, mom, thank you for giving me the life the way it is. The way you created me was amazing, because yes, there are struggles, but life is a struggle itself. So it's not necessarily a struggle because with autism, right? It's just generalizing, and I'm finding myself. I'm finding right now what I can, like, and really leverage what I have, what I am.
Yeah, exactly.
And be super happy about that, right?
Yeah, and there's nothing she could have done too, because as far as we know for now, the majority of like the autism or ADHD comes from genetics and things like that. So like it's not like she could have decided not to do it. And also hindsight's 2020, right? Like she did the best that she could with what the information she had. And so she didn't know that I was autistic and that I was actually feeling these things that way, so maybe she would have handled my toddler tantrums differently if she had known. And that's kind of one thing that we've got with our daughter too, is that we think she's neurodivergent now, but a couple years ago we didn't know any of this. And so in hindsight, we probably would have handled her tantrums differently had we known back then.
Yes.
But there's nothing you can do about it. Like you can't change that.
Yeah. So tell me about your farm. What is it that you do? Because we were talking about as well how much joy brings you, and how much touching or be in touch with nature.
In touch with nature.
Yes. So how does that, remember my English? Okay, so
bear with me. we have like a little homestead developing thing. It's not a business at all. It's actually just our own personal interests. But I think that's where, so my husband was always kind of into, he grew up in a really rural setting, and he was always kind of wanted to like live off grid alone and that kind of stuff. And I was coming from a very urban area, and I was like, I don't think so. But as time grew on, like I always liked animals, so like you can't really be downtown and have horses, and like so it kind of grew into that. And then combined with our neurodivergence, we ended up just buying land kind of like in the middle of nowhere back before the pandemic. And so now we live in the woods, and it's so much, it's really good for both of us, because there's less of that like urban noise, like even just like the physical noise, but there's less interference from other people with their expectations of like how you're supposed to play outside, or like do that kind of stuff. We can kind of do whatever we want without bothering anyone, because we're in the middle of the woods. And then at the same time, I think it gives us a lot of control, because as a neurodivergent, you don't always have control over a lot of what happens. So it's very calming for both of us to be there. So at this point right now, we've got 2 horses, a dog, and working on maybe getting ducks and a vegetable garden. We have a vegetable garden that we're trying to get to work properly, and an orchard that's growing. So and I think what's really helpful about that is that there's no noise. So when I'm out there, like I only hear the sounds of nature, more or less, like the birds and that kind of stuff. And then there's very visual feedback of what you're doing, right? Because if you're planting something, like you can see that before you hadn't planted anything, and now you've planted. Whereas sometimes like a lot of the online work, like it's hard to quantify your productivity and what you've done. And so and I think the physical work too helps with the ADHD and the autism, with like the fidgeting and the stimming too. So stimming is what is the repetitive like physical behaviors in autism. So like pulling weeds, for example, is something that I really enjoy, just the repetitive,
yes.
So, and then I can let my brain kind of wander everywhere while you're doing that, because I know
So what was the purpose? Like, it's the farm is just a purpose for you to grow your own food, and just to have your own little world in your farm, right?
Pretty much, yeah. So we can control the quality of what we're eating, and the impact of like the impact of our food on the environment as well. Because if we're able to grow it in like an integrated system, it has a smaller impact on the environment than like the big commercial farms that have pesticides and everything. So it's kind of a way of being integrated as part of being a positive influence on the world, like the natural world. So we came from that, and then just also interest. My grandma's always been a gardener, like a flower gardener, but still, and I think my great grandparents used to be farmers of some kind. Ryan's dad was a farmer, so he grew up on a farm too. And so it's kind of multiple purposes. I mean, being a wildlife biologist too, we have a large forest, and so we're able to go and manage that to actually try to make it better quality for the ecosystem and things like that.
Does that help you, or in what grade is that helping you with your life and being a neurodivergent? Like how, because I feel that's what it makes your life better and more in touch with yourself, and just living your life like the way you really want to, right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's very regulating. So it reduces stimulation. It calms me down. The thing too with neurodivergence is that sometimes like we just have to do things that interest us. Like it almost becomes physically painful if you can't do your interests, like your hobbies and things like that. And so the forest management and gardening and things like that, like those are really strong interests, and I get frustrated when I can't grow my own food or things like that. So it's not, I mean, we didn't grow much this year. We're still trying to figure out, the sunlight and all that stuff, but like working on it and seeing visual progress. And even just the rhythm of the seasons too, right? Because I think with ADHD, sometimes we'll get like boosts of energy to start projects and do stuff, and then we kind of like we get tired of it and bored of it. But through seasons, that works really well, because in the spring you have to like do a lot of planting, do a lot of work. In the summer, there's usually a little lull period where you don't do a whole lot, and then all of a sudden, like, you start harvesting stuff, then you work again, and then fall and winter you kind of slow down, reset, calm down, and then it starts again. So working with that seasonality is nice. Yeah, exactly, for our patterns. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's super amazing. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk, say to the people, that could actually inspire them to say, you're not alone? You're here.
I think one thing I'm really passionate about, I think, is just build the life that you want and that suits you. I know that comes from a position of privilege, because again, finance and debt and money are usually the main constraints. But yeah, it's pretty priceless to have a life that is actually so well suited. And it actually made it almost difficult to diagnose me with autism and ADHD, because he would ask a whole bunch of questions like, what happens when you do this? And I'm like, I don't really have a lot of these conflicts, because I was able to build a life that supports me more than hinders me.
That's something, like, I wanna recognize that for you. Like, it's a big value that you did for your life. Because not everyone realizes what they need to do for them to actually feel good. So that's big. So congratulations that you did this. Like, that's amazing. For like, I appreciate that for yourself, and to value yourself. And I see that you are a beautiful person and great person. And thank you so much for sharing this. If you guys want to comment and say, share your own story as well, you can go to the website. Please submit your story. I would love to have you guys here as well, so you guys can share your story. And see you next episode. Just go into Spotify and all the platforms. We're going to be there. And see you guys.